Order. Please stand for the pledge. Face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 1, D1. And our new business is adopt and finalize revised recommendation of special magistrate for petition number 2024-00166 to the Value Adjustment Board for the 2024 tax year, approve the 2024 notice of tax impact, and authorize the VAB clerk to publish the tax impact notice. Okay, do we have any questions on this item? General Counsel, you want to clarify what we're doing, just for the, in the layman's term?
Sure. So if the board votes to adopt the recommendation as it's now been prepared, it will grant the special magistrate's revised recommendation, which is granting the petition and revising the adjusted value down to 1.388 million.
Okay.
And that would be the last non-adopted recommendation for the season, which would enable the board to close the tax cycle.
Let me ask you a question, just from a grammatic point of view, just more curious than anything. Finalize revised recommendation of the special magistrate.
Mm-hmm.
No, the special magistrate did not change their recommendation that I saw.
No, he did not change, I would say, his findings of fact.
Yeah.
But the outcome did change to align with the board's direction.
Okay, all right. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I entertain a motion. A motion, is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Any debate? All in favor signify by saying yay. Yay. Opposed? Nay. Passes unanimously. Item number 2, approve and execute certificates of the VAB for real property and tangible personal property. Any discussion on that? I assume we need a motion on that as well.
Yes.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying yay. Yay. Passes unanimously. Number 3, approve revised special magistrate agreements for use of 2025 tax cycle. Any discussion? Do you have some?
Really, it's not very substantively different, but I did streamline it and I think just make it a little clearer. But there's really no substantive change.
Okay. Any questions regarding to that? Is there a motion for approval? Motion. Second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying yay. Yay. Motion carries unanimously. Discussion regarding proposed procedures for requests for reconsideration for the 2025 tax cycle.
Yeah, I'll take this one. This was brought up at the last meeting. The board asked me to propose or bring forward local procedures which would govern requests for reconsideration. So an example of a request for reconsideration would be what just was finalized in Petition 166. Those proposed procedures are laid out at the end of the memo. They're fairly self-explanatory. I can kind of walk through how they would function if the board would like.
Okay.
I can also say that procedures almost identical to these with a few tweaks here and there have been adopted at more than half a dozen VABs, and there are similar ones elsewhere that I'm not personally familiar with, but I know exist. So the way this would work, regardless of which party might make the request for reconsideration, whether it's the property appraiser or the petitioner, they would have, I believe it was, is it 10 days or 15 days? I always forget. But they have a certain amount of time to, let me see, it is 10 days. So they have 10 days following issuance of the recommended decision to submit a request for reconsideration. After that, it's untimely and would not be considered. So that ensures that requests are made sort of on a rolling basis as the recommendations are issued. Otherwise, there's there's a few potential downsides, but the obvious one is you don't want to have a deluge of them toward the end of the cycle, which would just be very practically difficult. And you also want the record to be fairly fresh when requests are made. After the request, and they all have to be in writing. There's no particular format. It can be informal. Within 10 days after that, the other party has an opportunity to respond in writing. The requests are limited to the record. They have to be pretty specific. You've got to identify the findings that you disagree with, the point of law that applies, and you can't introduce new evidence. After that, after either a request is made and a response is submitted, or no response is submitted within the 10 days, it then goes to myself. I produce a recommendation. That's all it is. It doesn't have any actual weight. It's just purely for the board's consideration. And then the board can really take those up at any point. Most often, it's done toward the end of the tax cycle, but some boards will do it a couple of times throughout the year, just depending how many you get. I was speaking with the clerk before the meeting, and they thought, for a proposal purpose, that it might be helpful to have one meeting, a board meeting set aside sort of earlier in the cycle, and then one later, for a couple of reasons, but most of all, just to make sure that they're being dealt with timely, and because we do have sort of a deadline at the end of March. And so some of them we'd like to have resolved before then.
Okay. All right, that's very good. Thank you. Any questions? Do we need to take any action to formally accept these, or?
If the board wants to adopt these, just a motion to adopt is all that's needed.
Okay. Motion would be in order for the proposed procedures for requests for reconsideration for the 2025 tax cycle.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Board Springer and second by Susan. All those in favor signify by saying yea. Yea. Passes unanimously. The final item, discussion regarding adoption of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised for board meetings.
Yeah, so Mr. Thowitzer
Yes.
sent a really good memo. I don't know if you guys had a chance to take
Yeah.
a look at it. Looks like it's well within our right. I think it's a really good way to govern. He had mentioned about putting a one-pager together that's really easy. One of the main things is that we follow, if we do the Roberts Rules, there is a section called Small Boards, which helps govern a smaller board of people. I would suggest that, and that's where you get your chair gets 2 votes based on whatever, if there's a tie, that helps us out in those situations. But I would love to have the opportunity to bring Robert's Rules here so that we have a procedure.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Do we need a motion for that? I guess we should.
For this one, I'm going to recommend that the board wait until the organizational meeting, which would be the next
Okay.
meeting, probably the next meeting,
Mhm.
will be July or August. Just because this sort of thing is supposed to be adopted at that meeting.
Okay, good. All right.
Sounds
We'll
good.
put this on the agenda for our next meeting then. Okay, board adjustment reports. Aaron, do you have a report?
No, nothing else?
No.
No, thank you.
I do not have a report.
I don't have one.
Robert, nope.
Nope.
Okay, seeing no reports, motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to approve.
If no, we haven't done public comment. We'll open it up for public comment.
Oh, you talking about because of the motion that we were working on for which public?
I'm talking about public comments for this meeting, period.
Okay, yeah. I guess that would be up to the chair when he wanted to do that, but,
It is
Yeah,
on the
we have
agenda.
public comment.
because normally you have,
Okay, so we're just not there yet.
We're here now.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
thank you, I appreciate that. I just have a couple of questions. These new procedures that you just adopted, are those operating procedures, internal operating procedures, or are those rules?
If the board would like me to respond, I'm
Yes,
happy to.
yes.
They would be considered internal operating procedures.
Okay. So you're creating a request for reconsideration, because right now that doesn't exist
It does.
in the law?
It's mentioned multiple times in the rules,
Okay,
in Chapter
but
1229.
Right, and that's a rule.
That's a rule.
So changing a rule, you're changing a rule with a rule, not an operating procedure, correct? I apologize, I've been sick for 2 weeks.
No, that's not what's happening. The rules do refer to requests for reconsideration at least twice. These are procedures governing how to really effectuate a request made under those rules.
Okay. Then the property appraiser's office would like a copy of whatever you adopted?
I can give her, I've got a copy.
Okay. And also, we need a copy of the full record on this petition. I don't know the number. I don't have it in front of me. And that would include anything that had to do with the direction back to the special magistrate, because the special magistrate refused to change his recommendation, and then he was directed to do so by the board, correct?
Would the board like me to respond?
Yes, yes.
I wouldn't say that's accurate, no.
Then how did that happen? What would be accurate? Because you took it back to the magistrate with no legal deficiency, and he didn't change his recommendation, correct?
I want to be specific. What exactly are you referring to?
Well, the only reason we're here today, we had a petition where the petitioner showed up, had what I would say is a hearing. If you look in the rules of what a hearing, you sent the recommendation back to that magistrate for him to review without any legal deficiencies within the findings of facts or conclusions of law, correct? Just you didn't agree, the board didn't agree with the value conclusion,
I
correct?
think you're adding some assumptions into our decision.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on between the
Yeah, I don't
petition.
think, I mean, the record should speak for itself, but I'd yield to our counsel.
It's up to the board whether I'm permitted to respond.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I don't mind clarifying. So I think what you're referring to is after the board's initial direction, which was essentially to give it a harder, closer look.
A harder, closer look at the value, or a harder, closer look because the findings of facts or conclusions of law were legally insufficient?
I don't think that was part of the direction. I'd have to go back and look to be specific.
Because the
So if
Commissioner
you're gonna-
Atkinson asked you that question, and she asked you specifically, the property appraiser said that in order for that to go back, that there had to be some legal deficiency in the recommended decision, and you agreed and said, yes, the property appraiser is correct. So what I'm asking is, if there was no legal deficiency in the magistrate's recommended decision, how did we get to today where he changes it with no additional information?
Mr. Thowlitzer, would it be appropriate to have the property appraiser request the information and you respond to it, since it seems like we're going back and forth and there's multiple motions and stuff like that?
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
If the-
I think-
If you have
Plus the public record
specific
we've made,
questions.
do you have any public comment related to that particular item?
What particular item?
The item 2024-00166.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was the one particular petition number.
Oh,
That
okay.
was-
Well, I'm trying to figure out how we got to a place. I'm not talking about the value, I'm talking about procedurally. Understand that there were hundreds of petitioners that petitioned the Value Adjustment Board where their petitions were denied. And none of them got a request for reconsideration hearing, except for one. So I'm trying to figure out going forward how you're going to operate procedurally, because unless there were many decisions that were where the property appraiser lost, or we disagree with the value. But whatever the recommended decision is from the magistrate, if it's legally sufficient, I have to accept. That's the way the law works. It works that way for you too, unless there's a legal deficiency within the findings of facts or conclusions of law. And you had indicated in the last meeting that all of the information that was brought forth by the petitioner was covered in the recommended decision from the magistrate. But it still went back to the magistrate. Magistrate didn't change his decision, and then you demanded it go back again, and he basically changed his mind on what?
That would be a question to answer.
There were a few
because
questions
the only
in
people
there.
talking are your attorney and the magistrate.
I would ask if just for the formal process, if you can put that together and submit it to our attorney, he can review it and give you a really nice
I can do
official,
that.
rather than just coming up and,
And I just want to make sure that whatever procedures you are creating in addition to are internal operating procedures only and not rules.
What do you think the distinction is?
I don't know because I don't have it in front of me. But the 12D9, I would hope with you being the attorney, you would know the difference between internal operating procedures and rules, because rules you cannot make in addition to.
I've never claimed that it was a rule.
Right, okay, that's fine. I'm not sitting here with whatever it is you guys have adopted, whether it be additional Roberts of rules, whether you've got some new procedures for request for consideration.
But I'm happy, I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
And I'm happy to email it to you, too.
Okay, thank
You
you.
made a comment that this was the only hearing or the only opportunity somebody had a chance. Virtually everyone who filed a petition had the opportunity to appeal that decision before the Value Adjustment Board. Everyone. There was only one that chose to appear before us, and we gave them a hearing.
Right.
So it wasn't that it was the only one.
Yeah.
All had a choice.
Commissioner, I'm going to disagree with you, and there are some, I believe, clear and consistent violations of this board. No disrespect to you. I know you haven't been in this arena in a long, long time, and things have changed dramatically from when you sat on this board before.
Right.
We can't just choose to like or not like a recommended decision because we don't like the value conclusion. That's not for a county this size. For a county this size, you must hire recommended, magistrates and attorneys that are your subject matter experts. You can, and I don't want to speak for your attorney, but you can send things back to magistrates that are legally deficient. Findings of facts or conclusions of laws are not sufficient. But what you're not allowed to do is come to a final VAB meeting and have a hearing or have another request for reconsideration, because there's rules for that too and noticing requirements for that too. So, for me, I have to make sure in this process that everybody that owns a piece of property that goes through the administrative review process has the same opportunity. And it's not property tax relief, Commissioner. That's
I
not
don't think
what-
anyone said that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even an issue. I've done this. This is
Right.
not my first rodeo. It's
but
my
it's-
seventh time, and believe me, for 7 years I've heard that. I understand that.
Yeah.
And it was clear in my mind when we heard that. So I don't want you to feel like we're just trying to get property relief. We're not doing that at all. It's fair and just evaluation, and we're operating under the provisions of the Florida statute that gives individuals a right to be heard. And if all 318 petitioners would have shown up, we would have given each and every one the equal opportunity to be heard by this board, as it's set forth in the Florida statute. And we were very, very cognizant to do business that way, and we quite often turned to our counsel to get opinions to make sure that we were operating in that way.
Right.
Find it interesting that you wait till after all these procedures before you even question that, rather than give us any guidance or open up any concerns before we started. If you truly wanted to have this process to be done in a proper way, I would have thought you would have said that from the beginning.
Commissioner, I'm the defendant in this process, so it's really not up to the defendant to bring things procedurally to your attention. That's really up to your attorney's job for that. And yes, there was mention of property tax relief, and I will get the verbatim. And it's no disrespect at all to you in this process. I appreciate it. I'm glad that taxpayers have a place to go, property owners have a place to go. But there is a taxpayer bill of rights, and all taxpayers have to have the same opportunity, and there is a reason that a county this size must use magistrates, and the rules and procedures are pretty specific. I don't know if there's one out there for a tie. You may be right on that in terms of Robert's Rules of Order, and I would say that's an internal control. But I do have some grave concerns about how this was handled. There are provisions for me to handle that as well. So,
And likewise, no disrespect, great respect for you.
I
We're
understand.
friends, you do a great job. We're blessed with a wonderful property appraiser. But we are adversarial, and I was just saying, you are a defendant, but you're a public servant too, and we were begging for any information at the beginning, any guidance or any concerns, so you're
Yeah.
welcome to come and deliver that to us at any time.
I appreciate that.
preferably
Not
early in
Not
the
really my
process.
role. I can't really do that, Commissioner. What I have to do is I have to depend on you as your board and your attorney to do things operationally correct. If I disagree with them, then there's an assertion to the DOR that I can do. If I disagree with the value conclusion, I can certainly go to circuit court for that. So there are other provisions available for that. But it's not proper for me to school this board on any procedures, but I will ask questions if I think that something is
Sure.
not being done correctly. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely, thank you. I think, School Board Member Susan, did you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. As
Okay.
long as you get the list of questions and stuff
Yeah.
like that. When you get them, if you can CC us and then
Yeah.
CC us on your response, that'd be good too.
I certainly will.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. It really, it's a great honor to work with you. And look forward to that in future. Okay, are we completed? Any more discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to approve.
Motion, second. Anyone opposed, signify by saying no. No, it's unanimous. Thank you.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.